Good evening. This is DJJohnny at JDM FM, and I thought as a bit of a Christmas treat, I'd read you a little story tonight. I've got my elf helper, Eddie the Elf. Do you remember Eddie? You saw him a few weeks ago. And I've got my book, a lovely, lovely book, and it's a book by Ian Blyton. Now, these are short stories, so don't worry, they're only short little stories. And I thought I'd do this little story called They Didn't Believe in Santa Claus. Now, is everything ready? Called Santa Claus, as he sat on his sleigh on Christmas Eve, holding the reins of his 4 reindeer. Is my sack quite full? Have I got my notebook with the children's names and addresses in? Yes, you've got everything, sir, said the servant. Better go now, or you'll be late. The reindeer have just had a good meal and they are able to gallop well. So off went Santa Claus through the night. The reindeer galloped through the frosty air, high above the roofs and the towns of the villages, their bells jingling as they went. I've lost count of how many times I've been out here like this on Christmas Eve, said Santa Claus to himself. Is it 1,000 or 11,000 or even more? I just can't remember. He leaned down and looked at the town as he was passing over. The things they have now, oh, they didn't have those years ago. Aeroplanes and those funny dishes, satellite dishes on the roofs. The reindeers galloped on, high above the roofs. Santa Claus looked at his list. He pulled at the reins as they came to a village. First call here, he said. Let's see now. Gladys Hills and Sheila Pratt, Bobby and Jan MacDonald. All good children who deserve to have their stockings full from top to toe. The reindeer landed gently on the roof of a house, just by a chimney. In a trice, Santa Claus had disappeared down the chimney. One of the reindeers put his nose to see where he had gone. The soot made him sneeze. Achoo! It was a young one, pulling the sleigh for the very first time this Christmas. They soon left the village and went to another, and then on to a town. And here the accident happened. A princess had come to visit the town that day, and there was a flag mast put up in her honour with a flag. But the flag was flapping, and it wasn't flapping very well. Now the young reindeer didn't know what a flag was, and when he saw this flapping thing, he was really terrified. He reared up and almost upset the sleigh. Now, cried Santa crossly, behave yourself. But the flag flapped again, and there was too much noise for the reindeer. He reared again, and then pulled away to the left, galloping with all his might, dragging the other 3 with him. Alas, when the sleigh tipped up for the second time, poor Santa Claus fell out. Oh no! His sack didn't though. Somehow or other, that stayed safely on the sleigh. The reindeer disappeared into the night, leaving Santa Claus on the roof of a cottage. He hadn't had far to fall, luckily. He sat there, getting his breath. Here's the thing to happen, he said crossly. He wondered what to do. He felt for his whistle. His reindeer. Oh, where? He couldn't blow his whistle. He couldn't find his whistle to get his reindeer back. Well, I must go down the chimney, he asked. For help, thought Santa. And down the chimney he went. It was a long chimney, and he landed in a cold, empty, dark room. He stepped out onto a hearthrug, and at the very moment, somebody switched on a light. An old man stood at the door, and behind stood a fierce-looking old woman. The man held a poker, and he came into the room holding it as if he was going to hit Santa Claus. Hey, don't do that, said Santa in alarm. Don't you know who I am? I'm Santa Claus. The old man snorted rudely. What will you burglars think of next? He said, dressing up like the one coming down a chimney. I know what you've come for. You've come to steal our silver. Look here, I really am Santa Claus, said Santa. Don't you believe me? No, as if we believe in Santa Claus at our age, said the old woman. In fact, I don't believe I ever did. Oh, you naughty storyteller, said Santa. Just let me remember now. Weren't you once a little girl called Sarah Jane? And didn't I bring you a doll with black hair, blue eyes, and a dress with pink roses all over it? My name is Sarah Jane, said the old woman, looking surprised. And yes, I do remember a doll, but you didn't bring it. My mother must have given it to me. And isn't this your brother? Went on Santa. Let me see. As far as I remember, he wasn't a very nice little boy. His name was Peter John, and I brought him a toy boat called Lucy Ann, and a book called Eyes and No Eyes. Yes, I remember that clearly. Years and years ago it was. The old man lowered the poker and stared in surprise. I don't know how you know all this, he said. It's true, my name is Peter John, and I did have those things when I was a small boy. But it's no good trying to deceive me. You're no more Santa Claus than I am. You're a burglar wearing a silly disguise, and what's more, I'm going to call the police. Do, said Santa Claus, sitting down in a chair. I shall probably know the policeman too. Do hurry up though, I simply must get my reindeer back and time's getting short. I've lots to do tonight. It is Christmas Eve. Go and telephone Sarah Jane, said the old man to her sister, and she went into the hall. It wasn't long before a knocking came at the door, and two policemen walked in. One middle-aged and plump, the other young and shy. Arrest this fellow, said the old man. He broke into our house, down the chimney dressed up as Santa Claus, pretends to know all about us. He's a fraud. Santa Claus got up and held out his hand to the plump middle-aged policeman. Why, if it isn't Harry Jones, he said. Harry, you were one of the top children in my list 40 years ago. Best boy in the village. And I was to bring you a railway train with a tunnel and signal I did. Yes, I remember it well, and with a station thrown in I seem to remember, because I was so pleased to hear about you. The burly policeman gaped. His eyes almost fell out of his head. Sir, he said, sir, I haven't believed in you for years. Oh, that railway set. I never had such a wonderful Christmas in my life as I had when I got that railway. I wrote you a letter of thanks, sir. I got it, said Santa Claus nicely, and it was nicely written too, and I know this young fellow here as well. Why, it can't be more than 12 years ago since I took him a Meccano set and a set of garden tools. 17 years, sir, said the young policeman, grinning all over his face. Nicest present I ever had, sir. I made my garden look lovely with all those tools, and I've still got the fork, sir. You know, I had a letter this Christmas from a small boy called Bobby Brown, said Santa Claus, finishing his enormous pocket. You're called Bobby Brown too, aren't you? Any relation? Yes, sir, he's my little boy, said the big Bobby, blushing red with delight. What did he ask for, sir? An aeroplane and a box of chalks, said Santa Claus, reading the letter. I had them in my sack for him too. Now, goodness knows if I'll be able to fill any stockings tonight with my reindeer gone, off in a fright. The old man was listening to all this in a fine rage. He rapped the poker on the table. Bang! Police, do your duty. Surely you aren't taken in by this fellow. You don't believe in Santa Claus, do you? Well, I didn't tell him. I met him. I met him as a kid, said Bobby Brown. But how can I help knowing it, Santa Claus, sir? I know him. He did bring us all those things when we were children. We can't arrest him. We can only help him. Fine, said Santa. Can I borrow your whistle, please? I've dropped my reindeer whistle and I can't call them back. Here, sir, said the young policeman eagerly, and he handed Santa Claus his whistle. Santa went to the window, opened it, and blew 3 long blasts on the whistle and 7 short ones. and in no time at all, the 5 watchers saw a shadow in the eastern sky and heard the sound of bells. The 4 reindeer landed on the roof and waited for their master. He disappeared up the chimney. "Thank you," he said to the policeman. "So glad you still believe in me. Sarah Jane and Peter John don't though, poor things." They didn't. Even though they had seen and heard him, they still didn't believe in Santa Claus. What a pity. Little Bobby Brown got his aeroplane and his chalks, and will you believe it, the 2 policemen each got a little present too. A tiny figure of Santa Claus to put on top of their Christmas cakes. They were so pleased. "I hope nothing happens to Santa Claus this Christmas, but if it does and he comes into your house, help him, won't you? He really is the jolliest, kindest, nicest old fellow anyone can meet." Hope you enjoyed that. Whatever you're doing, hope you have a great evening, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye.